The rain had been falling all afternoon, a steady curtain of silver that blurred the cobblestone streets outside the Grand Morningside Hotel. Inside, the lobby glowed in warm amber light, a safe harbor for weary travelers. The air smelled faintly of fresh coffee and polished wood. Behind the reception desk, Claire adjusted her crisp white blouse and smoothed the front of her black skirt. She always liked to present herself neatly, not because management demanded it, but because she believed every guest deserved a warm, professional welcome. For Claire, kindness wasn't a company policy, it was her own quiet rebellion against a world that could be cold. The day had been uneventful so far. A few late check-ins, some guests asking for directions to the theater, one man complaining about his soup being lukewarm. She had handled each with the same gentle smile. Claire believed in meeting rudeness with patience and loneliness with conversation. It wasn't something she was paid extra for, but she couldn't help herself, it was simply who she was. It was close to 6 p.m. when the front doors opened and a man stepped in from the rain. He didn't rush, even though his dark suit was damp at the shoulders. He paused just inside the entrance, his gaze sweeping over the high ceilings, the ornate rugs, the golden lamps. Claire noticed the way he carried himself, not exactly like a businessman on a tight schedule, but more like someone quietly taking it all in, as if searching for something in the atmosphere itself. He walked toward the desk, hands in his pockets, his steps unhurried. He was tall, with a thoughtful expression, but there was something else, a kind of gentle weariness in his eyes. The kind she'd seen in travelers who had been away from home too long. "Good evening," she said, her voice warm. "Welcome to the Grand Morningside. Do you have a reservation?" The man hesitated a second, then smiled faintly. "No reservation. Just looking for somewhere quiet tonight." Claire glanced at the nearly empty guest list for the evening. "We have a few rooms available. Would you like something on a higher floor? The view is beautiful when the rain clears." "That sounds perfect," he replied. She tapped on the computer, her fingers moving quickly. "We have a deluxe corner suite on the 7th floor. It's normally booked months in advance, but tonight it's free. I can give you a discounted rate since it's last minute." The man studied her for a moment, as though her offer had caught him off guard. "You didn't have to do that." She smiled. "I like to think kindness has a way of finding its way back." He gave her a small nod, the kind people give when they've been disarmed by sincerity. As she prepared his key card, she noticed his hands, strong but not soft, like someone used to doing his own work despite his polished appearance. She wondered what his story was, but didn't ask. In her job, you learn to respect the private lives people carried behind their eyes. When she handed him the key, he didn't immediately take it. "Claire," he said, reading her name tag, "do you always treat guests like they're old friends?" She laughed lightly. "Only the ones who look like they could use a friend." He accepted the key then, and for a moment, their fingers brushed. "Thank you," he said simply, and made his way toward the elevator. The rest of the evening moved along quietly. Claire saw him again only once, when he came down to the lobby and sat by the fireplace with a cup of tea. He didn't read a newspaper or scroll through a phone. He just sat there, watching the fire. There was a loneliness about him, but not the desperate kind, more the kind that comes from keeping too many things inside. Near the end of her shift, she brought him a small plate of warm cookies from the kitchen. "On the house," she said, placing it beside him. He looked surprised, then smiled. "You really don't have to do this." "I know," she said. "But sometimes it's nice to be reminded that strangers can be kind." He picked up a cookie, almost reluctantly, as if kindness was something he wasn't used to receiving without reason. "You're right. It is nice." Neither of them knew it yet, but that night was the start of something far larger than a friendly gesture. Claire thought he was just another lonely customer passing through. She didn't know she was speaking to the man who owned the entire hotel, and who had been quietly watching her every act of kindness since he walked through the door.